what's really pissing me off, besides the fact that I'm stuck here having to watch boring anime every single day, is when some of my employers, who probably don't even know, let alone played Nether-Earth, are going on about how Total War is the pinnacle of RTS games and stuff like Endless Space is just plebeian. God, I hate those morons. So now I'm going to postpone my reviews of summer animes in order to explain to people the classification of strategy games, so that in the future I could show the video to them and then ignore their petty arguments. So let's start. Strategies is a massive, now underrepresented game genre whose games, in my opinion, often get confused with one another due to a variety of reasons. Laziness is the biggest of them. For those that only now heard that such genre even exists, it's a game where you have to use thinking and planning in order to achieve victory, and not only. Chess, Monopoly, and Tic-Tac-Toe are classic examples. The strategy video game genre is practically the same in this regard, no matter what you do in the game. In the beginning, strategy video games were represented with digitized tabletop games like chess, backgammon, and Go, all up until two games came out, creating their respective genres. In 1997, a guy named Walter Bright had created a game called Empire for the PDP-10, yes, that giant rectangular thing, and in 1983, a group named Imagine Software had created a game named Stonkers for ZX Spectrum. These two games is what I consider to be the starting point for turn-based strategy and real-time strategy respectively. We will start our classification from the first one, turn-based strategies. Turn-based strategy, or TBS, is a strategy game where all players must take turns while playing it. Simple, is it not? Turn-based strategy then branches into several subgenres: 4X, global strategy, wargame, turn-based tactics, and RPG strategies. 4X is the most known genre of turn-based games, for it is the most common one you can see on the market. The X's stand for explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate. Here the player starts with one city or a planet or something else on an unknown map. The player then has to explore the map, expand his empire, exploit the available resources, and exterminate other players. Nowadays there are other ways to win, of course, but killing everyone is easier. Global strategies are strategies where the player has to control an already established nation. Usually in such games the whole map is open from the start, but the player doesn't see enemy units and resources if there are any. This genre is an endangered one, as almost all of them turned into real-time strategies. Wargame is a strategy where instead of a nation you command an army during a military operation. There is no building or resource management, you make wins with what you have, though usually you can hire new units in between missions or before the game. These games are stupidly realistic, you know, the type of games where they coded shit like wind direction or simple DNA codes that would modify the unit's stat lines. This is a niche genre that is silently created by niche studios for a niche audience. Turn-based tactics is even smaller scale. You command only a couple of units, a squad at best. Usually these sorts of games have rudimentary RPG elements. Units have stats, they can be equipped with various weapons and items, etc. Modern XCOM is a great example of a turn-based tactics game, and because of it, expect more of them to come soon. And finally, RPG strategies is the second thing people usually think about when thinking about TBS. These are your King's Bounties, Heroes of Might and Magic, and other similar games. You have a hero that has stats, abilities, etc., and he carries around an army of dudes who help him capture cities where he hires more dudes and kicks the shit out of other heroes and their dudes. Nowadays an endangered genre. Turn-based strategies were the first strategy games out there, and to this day they more or less dominate the market for a variety of reasons, but the strongest ones, I think, are the fact that these types of games don't require a top-tier PC to play and are generally pretty replayable. On the other hand, though, TBS offer no action-packed gameplay, the multiplayer is similar to chess, and there is a big problem with discreteness of time in such games. When it's your turn, you own the enemy. When it's his turn, he owns you. This is especially noticeable in tactic games where you see the enemy, shoot it, and he does jack shit in return, waiting for his turn. This problem is addressed in many games, either via players moving simultaneously or players at first planning their moves and actions, then seeing how it goes. In Valkyria Chronicles, for example, the enemy is opening pot shots while you move that can damage you, a thing that you also have to take into consideration. Now on to real-time strategy games.